Hi, this is Guitar Man Chilling. So listen, we're going to be working on lesson 2 today, and we're going to go over string types and how to insert a string in a guitar. We're going to be talking about the string gauges and tuning, okay? So let's see, getting started here. So, this is the guitar I showed in my first lesson. It's a little Squire Telecaster, and I'm still going to be working with it for a while. I might change over to another guitar later, but regardless, these guitars are fairly easy to change the strings on. Let's talk about strings for a second. There's all different name brands on strings, and to each their own. I don't find a lot of difference in strings myself. I've got some here that are called fatties. Never heard of the brand before, but I've used them, and they were available at the time. I used them. They're fine. They're fine strings. You can use Fender, you can use Gibson, Martin, whatever you choose. There's so many different manufacturers' names on strings these days. But basically, for playing rock and blues, we're going to use an extra light gauge set, and I think you're going to find most rock guitarists use those strings on their guitars that they're playing rock and blues with, because they're easy to play, they're easy to finger. You can stretch notes up. Any rate, so they're easy to play on. That's why people like them. I find the heavier gauge strings are just laborious to play, but it's all what you get used to. But I think you're going to find most rock guitarists use the extra light gauge. Extra light gauge are, they call them out in thousands. Like your E string, your high E string is usually a .009. Your second string, your B string, is usually an 11.011, 11 thousandths. Your third string is a .014, 14 thousandths. Whether it's a 16 thousandths, .016, .015, .014, it's kind of irrelevant. Of course, the .014 is going to be easier to stretch. These are 16s, .016. Any rate, 14s are fine, 16s are fine, 16 thousandths on the third string. The fourth string, they're moving up to 25 thousandths. 24 is fine, .024. This one has .025, 25 thousandths on the fourth string, the D string. The fifth string right here is this is a .033. I think you might find on extra light gauges .032 is common too. And then on the low E string, this happens to be a .043. I know that .042 is also very common, okay, or .044 is fine also. It's only a thousandth difference, between 0.43 and .044. 44 thousandths opposed to 43. But extra light gauge strings, nickel plated, that's pretty much what you're going to be getting. And I think you'll find that that's a great selection on a string, on a string gauge. They're gonna feel good on your fingers. You're gonna love playing them as a beginner, especially as a beginner. But this Tele here, the strings go in through the back of the tailpiece here. And so you just insert the string through, you insert it over the little bridge saddle right here, and you run it up and you insert them through the tuning key. There's only one hole in it, you can't mess that up. And then you go. Now here's something you need to know. It's very important. On the bass strings here, you don't want them slipping out on you. For one thing, if you install them, or you're going to buy another set of strings. But you insert it through the tuning key peg hole, and then when you go to tune this guitar string, up the pitch, you want to make sure that you have about 2 wraps around the string. So it takes a little getting used to. You gotta find out how much you need, how much slack you need hanging off the string, hanging loose before you start tuning it, and so that you have about 2 full wraps around the peg here when it's up to tune. Okay, so it's not that hard to do. You're going to see once you try it, but at any rate, you use to speed up the process, you can use a tuning key winder like this. You put it on the top of the key, and then you turn it around. It's very fast to install strings that way. But these things are sold at most every music store. They might be $4 or some, $4 or $5. At any rate, but you want at least 2 full windings around your bass strings here. Your what they call the wound strings. And then the plain steel strings, the nickel plated, just straight steel strings, which are the first, second, and third on this gauge of a set. They're just a single wire, a single piece of steel for the string. You want to bob, because they are easier to slip when you tune them up to pitch. And so you don't want them slipping up here at the peg, because you're going to fall out of tune. And so you want to make sure. I usually go 4 or 5 wraps. Some people might say that's too much. Some people may do more, but I'd stick to that. At least 4 or 5 wraps on the first, second, and third strings, and then at least 2 wraps on the bassier strings. On the fourth one, if you want to go the third wrap, even fourth wrap, it's your call, But at least 2, a minimum of 2. After you slip the string through, and you always bend it up, at an angle when you're done, and that will, and then you snip it off with a little pair of wire snippers. Nothing to it, This is actually a pair bigger than you need. Just snip it off right at the top of the little peg there, and that'll keep it from fraying anything or scratching anything. Any rate, so that's pretty much on installing a string. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, because that's not brain surgery doing that, and you'll get the hang of it once you do it. You do want to make sure all your strings wrap the same way around the tuning pegs. Like on a Fender, all the tuning keys are on one side. So you want to make sure all the strings go up the guitar. They start their wrap on the right side of the peg and wrap around to the left. Each one of them does the same thing, so that the guitar wrappings look neat and nice at the top. It's the way it's done. So any rate, that's pretty much it on installing a string. And now let's get on to tuning. Okay, when it comes to tuning, there's a few different types of tuners out there. Electronic tuners, some come, I don't know if any beginners are already going to have a foot pedal unit for effects and stuff. Maybe some of you as well. But some of the foot pedals, they have a tuner built into them. And so, you click a button or a couple buttons on them to bring you to the tuning mode, and then you start tuning your guitar up, and it knows pretty much where you're starting. It knows where the low E string is, where the high string is, and it'll show you usually by a series of lights. Lights will go to the light up to the left if you're flat. They'll go to the right if you're sharp. So of course, if you're flat, you got to tune upward. You got to tune the pitch upward, and it'll show you. Usually, the light is dead center when you're right on in tune, and you go through each key, like tuning key like that. It's an easy way to go. Some smaller tuners, little battery operated tuners, you plug your guitar cord into the end of it, and they have maybe a little meter on it, a little needle on a meter, and once again, to the left is flat, to the right is sharp, and it'll have the different insignias on there, and right in the center is where you're dead in tune. And so those are easy to use too. I like the idea of being able to, teaching students to tune on their own. Like this is a little pitch pipe here. It's got all the 6 different notes of tuning this. So any rate here, so I like to start with the A, the A note, which is the 5th string. That's how I get used to tuning my guitar. It's just to each their own. I believe it's a good way to start. So you bring the note right up to the pitch pipe, note, and then you'll know you've got it. And it may take you quite a few tries as a beginner to get it down, but you'll find that it is all possible. Once you get your A string in tune, then go to your low string. Now the next one, you could go through each string with the pitch pipe, you can go to the E string, tune it up accordingly, and go through the rest of them like that. I like to tell you the truth, that there's nothing wrong with that. I like the idea of a beginner learning how to tune his guitar from a single note and then tune it on his own. It's to each their own, but I mean, if you go to do that, and this is something you should know, it's what you're going to do is once you have, like, let's say your A string in tune, okay, your 5th string, then you're going to put your finger on the 7th fret, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th fret, 5th string, the one we just tuned, and you'll be able to tune your 6th string to it. They're both E notes at that point. Now if it's out, let's turn it low. You're going to hear a fluttering in the notes. And when that fluttering stops, technically, they're right in tune. Okay? So you can either do it by just listening closely to the notes. I like to listen to the flutter. You'll probably get used to it too. Now it's very important, don't bend your finger when you're going up. If you do this cross-arm tuning like I just showed you, which is pretty accurate way to do it, don't bend the string. Because if you inadvertently bend the string, then you're going to be tuning your guitar to the wrong note. You're going to be tuning your guitar a quarter tone up or quarter tone down, whatever, but don't bend it. Okay? So, at any rate, keep that finger right on that note perfectly and reach over there and tune that string up, okay? And then once you have that, now we've got the 5th and the 6th strings in tune. Now we're going to tune from our A string that's already in tune. We're going to tune the 4th string, okay? So that's the D string. So by putting our finger on the 5th string, 5th fret, that's a D note. Now we can tune our D string, our open D. That's the 4th string. Let's tune it. Okay, it's in. Let's untune it. Hear the fluttering? Hear the fluttering? And when the fluttering disappears, you're in. Okay? Now, once you have the 4th string in, we're going to tune the 3rd string. Now the 4th string's in tune. So we're going to put a finger on the 5th fret, 4th string that's already in tune. Now, that's going to be a G note. So we're going to tune our 3rd string G to the G that's in tune. They're both G notes, okay? Or they will be in a minute here. So let's tune it down. And let's bring them right up. Okay, to where they sound exactly the same. Now remember, it takes a little practice. It's going to take a lot of practice to be able to tune a guitar, up to tuning, the proper tuning. So anyway, once you have the 3rd string in, okay, now let's tune the 2nd string, which is the B string. We're going to put our finger on the 3rd string and on the 4th fret. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's a B note. Let's tune the 2nd string. Let's tune it slower. And you bring them right up. You got to listen closely. Now, let's tune the 1st string. So in the B string, the 2nd string's in tune now, or supposedly. Now let's go up to the 5th fret. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th fret, 2nd string. Push down on it. Now since that's an E note on the 2nd string, where we have our finger down, we're going to tune our high E, our open E string, to that. So and bring them right in to where they sound the same. This is a little loud, I can tell it, but at any rate. It's not perfect, but it's close. So at any rate, now you're going to have to work with it, okay? You're going to have to work with it and get good tuning a guitar. You might check it if you have your little electronic tuner. Do it by with your little pitch fork and pitch pipe, and go ahead and tune it up yourself, and then check it with your tuner, and get good at tuning your own guitar. It'll improve your ear, So, at any rate, that's pretty much it on tuning. I'm not going to dwell on it because you're going to get better and better as time goes. You're going to work on it a little here or there, and you may. And by the way, when you, I think if we didn't touch on that, remember to always stretch your strings out after you've put them on your guitar, brand new strings. You want to stretch them out a little. Don't get crazy and stretch all the stretch out of them, but you don't want to constantly have to be retuning your guitar. So with new strings, sometimes they get really quirky about they fall out of tune easy, because if you try and do any stretching or anything like that, you're going to stretch the strings out of tune when they're brand new. So you can always pull them up off the guitar a couple inches, or an inch, at least an inch. An inch is safe to say, without busting them, and just pull them up, take some of the stretch out of them, and that way they won't fall out of, new strings won't fall out of tune so badly. So at any rate, that's pretty much it for this lesson on strings, string types, and the in tuning up. So see you next lesson.